In a lush green forest nestled between snow-capped mountains and sparkling lakes lived a family of brown bears. The mother, the father, and their little daughter, Kavi. Kavi was a curious and playful bear who loved nothing more than chasing butterflies and frolicking in the streams. But her favorite thing in the whole wide world was honey. The sticky sweet treat was like liquid gold to Kavi, and she would go to great lengths to get her paws on it. Now, deep in the heart of the forest, there were beehives hanging from the branches of ancient trees. They were home to thousands of hard-working bees who buzzed around the forest all day, collecting pollen and nectar from the flowers. Each hive was a bustling city of activity, with bees coming and going, bringing in the ingredients for the most delicious honey. But one day, something terrible happened. A group of humans came to the forest, and they were looking for honey. They climbed up the trees and took the beehives away, leaving the bees homeless and their hives empty. When Calvi found out what had happened, she was heartbroken. She loved honey so much, and now the bees had no home. Determined to help, Calvi set out on a mission to find the humans and return the beehives to their rightful owners. But when she finally located the humans, she saw that they were already in the process of taking apart the hives and stealing the honey. Enraged, Calvi let out a furious roar and charged at the humans. They were scared at first, but then they started laughing. "Oh, look at that! A little baby bear trying to scare us away," one of them said, and they just kept laughing. Calvi was furious. She couldn't believe that these humans were so selfish and greedy. She wanted to fight them, to scratch and bite until they stopped laughing and went away. But then she saw something that made her stop. As the humans were taking apart the hives, the bees were flying frantically around their heads, buzzing angrily and stinging anyone who came too close. The humans were swatting at the bees, trying to get them away, but the more they did, the angrier the bees became. And the more angry the bees became, the more they stung the humans. The humans were in trouble, and they didn't know what to do. Calvi watched for a moment, torn between her anger at the humans and her concern for the bees. Finally, she decided to do something. She took a deep breath and let out a loud, clear roar. It was a sound that echoed through the forest and made both the humans and the bees stop what they were doing. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, pointing her little paw at the humans. "These bees have worked hard to make their hives, and you're just destroying them." The humans looked at each other in surprise. No one had ever talked back to them before. "And what are you going to do about it, little bear?" one of them said, but Calvi wasn't afraid. "I'm going to make sure that you leave these bees alone," she said, and she meant it. The humans laughed, thinking that Calvi was just bluffing, but Calvi wasn't. She charged at them, growling loudly, and the humans ran away as fast as they could. When the coast was clear, Calvi turned back to the bees. They were still angry, but now they were also confused. Why did this little bear come to help them? Calvi didn't know how to talk to bees, but she wanted to try. She sat down in front of them and said, "I'm sorry that these humans destroyed your hives. I don't know what to say." The bees buzzed angrily for a moment, but then one of them landed on Calvi's paw and said, "Thank you for helping us, little bear. We appreciate it." Calvi was surprised. So the bees could talk. "You're welcome," she said, feeling a little awkward. "Is there anything I can do to help?" The bee nodded. "We need to find new hives, but we don't know where to look." Calvi thought for a moment. She knew just the place. Deeper in the forest, there were plenty of trees with branches that could hold beehives, but they were surrounded by flowers that hadn't been pollinated yet. "I know just where to take you," she said, and the bees followed her deep into the forest. Calvi led the bees to a clearing where there were hundreds of flowers in full bloom. There were white daisies, yellow dandelions, and purple lavender, all waiting to be pollinated. The bees were ecstatic. This was the perfect spot for new hives, and so they got to work, building new hives and collecting pollen from the flowers. Calvi watched for a moment, a big smile on her face. She had helped the bees find a new home, and now they were happy again. As the days went by, the bees thrived in their new home. The flowers in the clearing bloomed like never before, and the bees buzzed happily from flower to flower. They were producing more honey than ever before, and Calvi was overjoyed. One day, Calvi was playing near the beehives when she heard a familiar sound. It was the sound of a human voice. She froze and quickly hid behind a tree. A group of humans were walking through the forest, and they were talking about how they needed some honey. "Let's go to that clearing," one of them said. "I bet there's plenty of honey there." Calvi's heart sank. Could the humans find the beehives and destroy them? She had to do something to protect the bees. She took a deep breath and came up with a plan. She ran back to the beehives and started making a lot of noise, banging on the hives and flapping her paws. The bees were alarmed, but they knew that Calvi was trying to warn them. They all flew out of the hives and started buzzing around the clearing, making it impossible for the humans to approach. The humans were scared to go into the clearing. They could see the bees from a distance and knew that they were angry. So they decided to go somewhere else, and when they were far away, the bees went back to their hives and everything was fine. From that day on, the humans stayed away from the clearing. They heard about the angry bees and didn't want to mess with them. And so the bees were safe. Years passed, and Calvi grew up to be a strong and beautiful bear. She never forgot about the bees and how they had become her friends. She would often visit them and bring them berries and fish as gifts. The bees loved Calvi and were so grateful for what she had done for them. And because of Calvi's friendship, the bees shared their honey with her every year. Calvi never had to steal honey again. The bees gave it to her willingly, knowing that she respected them and their hard work. As the seasons changed and the leaves turned from green to gold to brown, Calvi would gather the bees around her for their annual honey feast. They would eat and drink until they were full and then tell stories and jokes, enjoying each other's company. It was a tradition that had become an important part of their lives and a celebration of their unique bond. Even though they were different, a bear and a bunch of bees, they had become the best of friends. Calvi had taught them to share their honey and their happiness, and together they had created a thriving community in the middle of the forest.